Change we can believe in are famous words that many of us are familiar with. Having grown up in a lot of different environments, I've always recognized the value of growth and the necessity of adaptability. These words have always resonated with me. I truly believe that the only constant in life is change. After having graduated the University of Illinois with a degree in electrical engineering, I began my career at a healthcare technology company. Over the next few years, I experienced rapid growth that accompanies an organization that operates as an open system, and the trials and tribulations associated with it. So I'm passionate about technology, businesses, but also the human psychology. I've always had a penchant for studying technology companies and what makes them successful and what makes them failures. Similarly, I look at human behavior and successful human beings, and I try to analyze those that have longevity and others that fall victims to their own success. While looking at this, a common theme seems to appear. A theme of looking at external forces and how individuals and organizations respond to those external forces through internal responses. Looking back at the last 40 or 50 years of the evolution of technological companies, the ones that have been unable to sustain their success, a common theme seems to appear, one that I feel also applies to humans. And that is being stuck in organizational routines that constantly prioritize exploitation over exploration, a phenomena known as the competency trap, something that we'll dive deeper the rest of this talk. Growing up, my dream was to build and manage products on the cutting edge of technology. I was lucky enough to be given that opportunity. When I graduated, I got a job as a product analyst at a healthcare technology company. I quickly rose up the ranks and became a product manager, where I was constantly solving crucial technical problems, working with engineering teams to ship product features and functionalities. Life was good. I was enjoying the work I was doing. I was working hard, and the organization respected the work that I was doing for them. I was satisfied. However, in the summer of 2020, I took a step back. I switched up and switched to part-time. I wanted to pursue my master's. This is a decision that really got a lot of pushback, primarily around the opportunity cost of making such a decision, right? I was doing well at work. I was rising up the ranks. Why would I want to take a step back and really preclude myself from getting important projects and opportunities that would further preclude me from rising up the proverbial professional ladder? Secondly, COVID had just hit us, right? And people were getting furloughed and laid off. I was lucky enough to have my job, but I was voluntarily scaling back. Taking a pay cut didn't really make sense. Lastly, on a personal level, I've always enjoyed doing more than studying. And, why would I want to give up the thrill and adrenaline of solving problems and shipping cool products to go back to academia? They were all important considerations. Let's switch gears for a minute and talk about companies that are constantly in similar predicaments, right? And they have to make these decisions that really dictate their long-term longevity. I want to stress on the fleeting sustainability of some of these very successful companies. Insight has a statistic that back in the 1970s, the average tenure of an S&P 500 company was about 30 to 35 years. They now forecast it to be almost half, about 15 to 20 years in this decade. I want to talk about TI, or Texas Instruments, in the 1980s. Texas Instruments was a company that had become very successful following a philosophy of constantly building novel tech. So in the early 80s, they built a 16-bit microprocessor that was far superior to their 8-bit microprocessor. Something that was built not out of market need, but again, following their philosophy of building new technology and then introducing it to the market, being a solutions first and then finding problems later type of philosophy, right? Now, this philosophy again had worked pretty well for them. So when the market did not receive the 16-bit microprocessor well, TI did not pick up these signals and did not adapt or pivot. Instead, they chose to double down. And you can understand why. This is a philosophy that had got them to where they were. They had been successful this way. So the way they doubled down was they leveraged this expensive piece of hardware and used it to launch a home computer. Again, something that was clearly not a market need at that point in time. Now, after several iterations and a lot of investment, the home computer reached its inevitable demise. So as you can tell now, there's clearly commonalities between the human condition and that of an organization. Right? It's the ability, or well, lack thereof, of failing to adapt to the external environment and falling prey to competency traps. The theme of being stuck in these what we call organizational routines for companies or for humans that constantly prioritize exploiting existing processes that have made you successful now and what have gotten you here over exploratory strategies that will actually get you there. So why do entities keep falling prey to these competency traps? And there's really several reasons. I think entities prefer incremental change over disruptive change. Why fix something that's not broken, right? But whether it's humans or organizations, what they fail to understand in some situations is that what may not be broken now may be broken in the future depending on external forces and the external environment. Secondly, there's always opportunity cost associated with this kind of disruptive change where you have to take that one step back to take two steps forward. Going back to my example, why would I roll back and curb my own professional rise to just stop doing that essentially for a while and focus on academia? There's also always inertia for change, right? When you're a company, customers can always keep you busy in their needs and what they want, right? And companies can just focus on delivering that. It always just precludes them from strategic long-term goals. The last thing I want to talk about is, competition-driven short-term myopias, where companies are just constantly looking at competition to see what competition is doing, which is, that incremental gain in a product feature or that incremental low-hanging fruit that you're trying to obtain. And when you're just constantly competing with competition in that marketplace, you're restricted to this mental model really of just chasing that next small thing. Let's talk about what happens when you do avoid competency traps. And let's tie this back into my own experience. The reason I wanted to pursue my master's was because I wanted to experience and benefit from the value of a growth mindset and avoid that competency traps. At work, I was having a hard time of breaking into the mold where I wasn't just crucial from an execution point of view, but also from a decision-making and strategy point of view. While my skills were good enough from an execution point of view, I knew I needed more to be trusted with a higher sense of responsibilities. The interesting thing about exploratory strategies is quite often you will gain more than what you went in looking for too. I went in to learn more about devising unique business models, learning more about pricing strategies, and I did that. But I also did more. I was very enthusiastic about learning more about product management, and I found out that at university there was a lack of formal education within the space. So I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I started our university's first student organization on product management, which was one of a handful in the entire country. And this was a great experience because I was able to share my learnings with other very talented students, but also learn a lot from them and their unique perspectives as well. This experience opened up a lot of doors for me. Upon graduation, I had a lot of different, very cool job opportunities and offers that it really helped me validate the progress I had made and the work that I was doing. However, I decided to come back into my role, and I displayed a more unique and mature perspective and a set of skills that allowed me to get more responsibility and accountability. You know, as an organization or an individual, I hope you could draw something from this conversation. You know, I challenge you to identify your own competency traps, be adaptable, and set yourself up for sustainable success. Thank you.